Been lovely to play with you. Thanks for your company and yours as well. Look forward to seeing you next time on The Chase Australia.
A positive COVID test from a weekend protest has health authorities fearing a second wave. Tonight, Supreme Court action to stop more demonstrations, threats of fines and arrests, but marchers remain defiant. Food courts to reopen, parties allowed again in homes, a major relaxation of restrictions. Burnt but alive, the great-grandparents saved from an inferno, their heroic neighbours praised for bravery. Tangled in rope, the humpback set free and the whale watchers who raised the alarm. Movies and TV shows banned, statues and monuments removed. Censorship over racial sensitivity, but now claims of cultural vandalism. The JobKeeper tax bonus likely to deliver the biggest cash returns in years. And Tigers champ Benji Marshall back, but facing a fine for breaking COVID protocols.
Live from Sydney, 7 News with Mark Ferguson.
Good evening. There are fears of violent arrests and more COVID infections, with 2 new mass rallies planned for Sydney. Police are warning those taking part face $1,000 fines and arrest. It follows news from Melbourne that a protester there has tested positive to COVID-19.
Off to court. The Assistant Commissioner leads a last-ditch bid for a Supreme Court order to stop the weekend's protest.
We will be out in force. We will have significant resources on the ground.
With threats to defy authorities and repeat last weekend's rallies, news from Melbourne that a protester has tested positive, just as they'd predicted.
This is not rocket science. COVID-19 is still alive. We still have a pandemic.
A man, mid-30s, and, despite him wearing a mask,
they were potentially infectious.
A nightmare for contact tracing, and authorities fear it could happen here.
I'm asking people not to attend that public gathering tomorrow. I need to be very clear on that.
But protesters are adamant it will go ahead.
Oh, look, many thousands will be there without a doubt.
Brett Collins says the George Floyd death in America has given the local cause a momentum they can't ignore.
It's absolutely essential that people see it as a life and death matter. We're talking about deaths in custody. How could that not be a health matter?
But police say they will be ready in numbers, with $1,000 fines and possible arrests, saying the law is clear. No more than 10 can gather.
If people break the law, of course they should be charged. That is always the case.
Last week, an estimated 20,000 people rallied in Sydney. The police legal bid to stop them overturned on appeal.
There is a right to protest. There needs to be a right to protest, even in the midst of, a coronavirus, crisis.
And on the protest eve, a new mural honouring anti-racism campaign star, former Swans legend Adam Goodes, appeared in Surrey Hills as organisers expressed determination to push ahead, even with the Melbourne COVID case.
In some ways, it proves the point. There is a very, very small risk. We've turned out one person out of, 40,000?
But from the Prime Minister, a plea.
Do not go to those rallies. Do not go to those rallies. You are putting others' lives at risk.
And Chris Reason is at the Supreme Court for us tonight. Chris, has there been a decision yet about the protest plan for Saturday?
Good evening to you, Mark. Well, the battle lines are drawn and the two sides currently locked in legal arguments in the Supreme Court upstairs behind me now. Police versus protesters. Just a few minutes ago, we saw the Assistant Commissioner Mick Willing and his team walk out. He said submissions and summaries still to go. It's expected the decision won't be heard until at least another hour, Mark. Now, this, as you say, is about Saturday's protest, which isn't about the Black Lives Matter issues, but it's about refugee issues. And the irony being, organisers say that normally they'd only expect to attract a couple of dozen people. Now, with all of this publicity, they could be expecting hundreds to attend on Saturday. Mark.
OK, Chris Reason in the city, thank you. It's shaping as another big weekend of catch-ups, even belated birthday parties, with 20 people allowed to gather in homes from Saturday. And you'll also be able to sit down at shopping centres for coffee and cake, with food courts to finally reopen seating areas.
The Premier's dad had his birthday today, turned 88, leaving her with a tough decision.
I'm still thinking about whether or not I give him a hug. I haven't hugged him for months.
Maybe distracting.
Oh, I should also say,
almost forgetting her big announcement.
From this Saturday, you will be able to welcome 20 people into your home, as well as having gatherings outside with 20 people.
Relief for large families like the Zerwitzes. Restrictions meant they had to leave kids at home.
Probably we'll go and see the grandparents and say hello as a family unit.
And food courts are back. From the weekend, up to 50 customers allowed to sit down. You're going to have some seats.
Which is very exciting, which is good.
Retailers hope more eating leads to more spending.
It is very much the beating heart, and it's where our customers come and our community comes to socialise.
Footy hearts are beating faster. The AFL resumes tonight, and 200 NRL fans allowed in the ground to watch Manly take on the Broncos in Gosford. It's now 16 days since the last community-transmitted COVID case. Life slowly returning to normal. After months of worrying scenes like this, the Premier says July should look very different, promising the public a further wind back of restrictions.
Please know that imminently you will feel far less frustrated.
Frustrations even in her own government.
There are some inconsistencies and it's time that we just simplify the message.
But this weekend, just like the Premier's, families can finally celebrate together. Chris Marr, 7 News.
The victim of an overnight house fire at Killarney Heights says neighbours who rescued he and his wife are better than best friends. And firefighters agree they want the Have a Go heroes to be given bravery awards.
It's been home for 50 years. But last night, Jim and June Brennan watched their house burn to the ground.
My wife asked me to go and check the electric line to see if it was warming up. And it certainly was warming up. The bed was on fire.
89-year-old Jim is burnt but thankful to be alive. The great-grandparents only able to tell their story because of the bravery of neighbours. Their rescue caught on security camera next door. Deke Rayner Harvey spotted the flames, finding June trapped on the balcony. Jim had collapsed inside.
There's so much smoke, I couldn't see where I was.
Myself and another neighbour sort of felt around and we found Jim on the floor and pulled him out.
Saving him from the 600-degree heat using this ladder to get them out.
Everybody worked very well, together. All the neighbourhood came together.
It's fair to say the people living here on Dublin Avenue are the type of neighbours anyone would be lucky to have. And while they might shrug off their efforts last night, firefighters want to formally recognise them with a bravery award.
The neighbours were incredible, so as I said, the neighbours are the ones who take all the credit.
Jim and June will recover, but their home was uninsured. And if there was any question this community hadn't done enough, they're now raising money online to get them back on their feet.
We've been very lucky with neighbours.
What would you call them? You know.
Best friends. Better than best friends.
Andrew Denny, 7 News.
There was a dramatic rescue operation today off Bondi after a humpback became tangled in rope. It was spotted in distress by drone operators who quickly raised the alarm.
One of the world's most majestic creatures in its natural habitat, attached to something unnatural.
We were flying the drone out because we knew it was whale season, and we spotted a whale.
Unusually close to the shore of South Bondi.
It started breaching like crazy, so just coming out of the water like it was abnormal.
That's because the humpback was in trouble.
Then we noticed it was tangled up in some netting. It was pretty long, about 120 metres long.
He was turning and he looked distressed. It looked like the net was weighing him down.
The whale could be seen death rolling in a desperate attempt to free itself. Will and his friend Anthony used their drone to relay information to lifeguards who went out on jet skis. 3.5 kilometres out and less than 30 minutes into the rescue, the whale finally managed to escape. Lifeguards picked up the rope, but it's not known where it came from.
It's got no identifying information on it, so the rope could be from anything, really.
The whale was last seen heading south in the opposite direction of where it should be going. Now is the peak season of the annual northern migration for these mammals. It's hoped he or she was simply confused and will link up with the pod.
It was good to see the final part when it was swimming away free. It was nice. It was a good feeling.
Which may not have been possible if it wasn't for two mates from Wales and their drone.
Technology saved the whale's life. which is great.
Leonie Ryan, 7 News.
3 men have been released on bail accused of conspiring to defraud the Commonwealth Government. The court heard the men, who were employed by the Department of Finance, allegedly sought to use their position to direct IT contracts to certain suppliers in order to receive financial benefit. Their arrest follows an almost year-long investigation by the Federal Police Anti-Corruption Squad. The men face up to 15 years behind bars if convicted. The Prime Minister has apologised to victims of his government's unlawful robo-debt scheme. Speaking in Parliament, Scott Morrison said he was sorry for any harm the flawed program may have caused. It came as a new report found Australia's economy has performed better than most other countries.
Re-emerging from the economic fog of the pandemic, the outlook is becoming clearer.
Australia stands out as a leader in the economic recovery.
An OECD assessment of world economies finding if Australia avoids a second wave of infection, the hit to GDP will fall from 8.5% to 5%, and unemployment won't peak at 10% but 7.6%. Better than most countries.
That compares to 7.3% in the United States, 8% in Canada, 8.9% in New Zealand, 11.5% in the United Kingdom.
But a warning on the withdrawal of JobKeeper payments, the OECD suggesting some income support measures may need to be extended beyond their September expiry date to allow businesses to rebuild.
They need to make sure that we have a transition rather than a snapback that will snap communities.
And a second wave would snap the economic recovery. The OECD predicting it would cost the economy $25 billion and wipe out businesses and jobs.
We are looking at all of those matters extremely carefully.
And accepting responsibility for the robo-debt debacle, saying sorry to victims.
I would apologise to any hurt or harm in the way that the government has dealt with that issue.
Before taking this crack at Anthony Albanese.
This leader of the opposition would not have a clue.
The fog of political war. Mark Riley, 7 News.
A new wave of censorship is sweeping the globe in the wake of the Black Lives Matter protests, with movies, TV shows and statues being removed. The classic Gone with the Wind is disappearing from screens in the US, while here a popular comedian has been dumped by Netflix.
When Gone with the Wind was released in 1939, it garnered 8 Oscars, including the first for an African-American actor, Hattie McDaniel.
Oh, now, Miss Scarlett, you come on and be good and eat just a little. No.
Gone with the Wind is but one example of a film that portrays blacks in an unrealistic and unflattering light.
The movie has been temporarily pulled from HBO and will reappear with appropriate messaging.
Where do you draw the line? Should George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison be erased from history?
Here, Netflix has dropped 4 series from comedian Chris Lilly, some where he portrays characters in blackface.
You give hip-hop a bad name.
Little Britain, dumped from TV and streaming too. The most visible removals are of statues. This one of Christopher Columbus torn down in Minnesota. In the United Kingdom, statues of Cecil Rhodes and Winston Churchill, among hundreds targeted.
I think some should come down. I think most of them should stay up, remain and reinterpret.
This statue was erected in 1879 and has been vandalised many times, most recently in 2018 with the words, "No pride in genocide." But was Captain James Cook racist? Were his actions? And should his statue be torn down? Some suggest adding a plaque to provide context. Others want it removed.
I think it's dreadful cultural vandalism. I think that it's a looting of our history, and I absolutely condemn it.
Ironically, it was Churchill who made the point in a speech to Parliament. Those who failed to learn from history are condemned to repeat it. Brian Seymour, 7 News.
In America, where the protest movement began, the brother of George Floyd has pleaded with politicians to stop the pain. As the country grapples with police reform, protesters have taken aim at a long-standing symbol of controversy with some success.
The day after burying his brother, Thelonious Floyd came to Washington to demand his death not be in vain.
He pleaded for his life. He said he couldn't breathe. Nobody cared.
Calling for police reform with accountability, empathy, respect and use of deadly force only when life is at risk.
When you watch your big brother, who you looked up to for your whole life, die begging for his mom, I'm here to ask you to make it stop. Stop the pain.
He then took his message to the streets, joining protesters near the White House. In Minneapolis, the police chief promised an early warning system to identify troublesome officers like Derek Chauvin.
I would not be in the same room with him, and I refuse to mention his name.
Another fired officer charged with aiding and abetting George Floyd's murder was today released on bail. While the White House works on its plan for reform, today Donald Trump talked about his successes.
We've done a lot for the black community, and we've done a lot for all communities.
But it's more than policing in the spotlight. Protesters calling for the removal of Confederate statues, a push to rename military bases named after Confederate officers already shot down. But the Confederate flag will no longer fly over NASCAR, today banned from the track. In the United States, Paul Kadak, 7 News.
The Premier has scoffed at allegations made by the opposition leader that she was responsible for the deaths of native animals during the bushfire crisis. Jodie McKay made the accusations during a YouTube interview with a comedian.
And it wasn't just koalas she killed. There were wallabies and kangaroos and wombats.
Oh, to be honest, I've got bigger things to worry about.
The Deputy Premier called the comments desperate. It was a case of deja vu this morning as we woke to a city we could hardly see. For the second day in a row, landmarks and buildings had disappeared as suburbs right across Sydney were smothered by fog.
Piercing through Sydney's winter blanket, our tallest building cuts a lonely figure. For the second day in a row, fog coated the city and the suburbs, forming in the west and moving across the coast. Bondi buried. Kemps Creek coated too.
It still looks beautiful. Coming out of the lockdown and getting a fog, it's a nice feeling.
At the Rocks, a misty bridge and eerie harbour, a photographer's paradise.
We just wanted to get some good shots of the bridge and the harbour with the moody conditions.
Those conditions also made it dangerous on our roads. Low beams and low speeds, adding more time to the daily commute. Here on the M4, visibility was extremely poor.
Developed in our west, and eventually that dry westerly airstream coming off the Blue Mountains, which is what we call cold air drainage, pushed some of it towards the city centre.
Foggy mornings are not unusual for this time of year, particularly after a lot of rain. But this week's fog is lingering longer than usual because it's lacking dry air.
The thing that stands out though, Richmond on average has 66 fogs per annum, the city less than 8.
The big fog will be back tomorrow. Natasha Squarey, 7 News.
Let's bring in our meteorologist once again. Brownie, how extensive is that fog likely to be?
Oh, look, Fergo, the way things are going, I think it'll be confined to the outer west first thing tomorrow morning. But right now, as we look at current conditions, you'll see it's sitting on 16 degrees, got a southerly breeze running at around 30 kilometres per hour. Now, our model paints the following. We're looking at a mixture of low cloud and fog confined to the outer west. But the thing that stands out is just some isolated showers clipping the coast for most of the day. That said, though, in the medium term, there is a trough on the way. It's expected to bring some welcome rain and some storm activity to most of our state across the weekend, reaching us, of course, during Sunday morning before it clears out to sea soon after lunchtime. At the moment, temperature-wise, 16 degrees there in Penrith, a little bit cooler in Terry Hills, 14 up the coast at Gosford, sitting on 17 degrees. Detailed weekend weather, top of the hour, Fergo.
OK, David, thank you. William Callaghan is back home with his family tonight after his dramatic rescue. After the break, the bug that stopped him leaving hospital sooner, as his mum praises the man who found him. Why this surgeon is taking Google to the federal court. The dramatic moment a police cruiser came close to being wiped out. A little later, calculating your tax and how JobKeeper has changed the equation for so many. And in sport, the Dragons captain sees red over questions about accused rapist Jack de Belin.
7 News, brought to you by Industry Superfunds.
I suddenly realized we're all in this together.
That feels especially true, given what's going on. It is good to know that our super will help us and our economy bounce back. And if you're with one of these, your super is invested in things that create jobs and keep Aussie businesses strong, delivering good long-term returns that benefit all of us. After all,
we're all in this together.
one by one. My housemates will come face to face with what they fear most.
Oh, no! Oh! But could it bring them together?
What do you think of Chad?
When I saw him, I was like, ooh, hot damn.
Please explain hot damn to Big Brother.
Hi. Stop. I seriously feel like I'm in school again.
Big Brother's Big Week starts Sunday at 7 on 7.
We're for the bingers, the TV tragics, the laptop peekers, the get an ep in on the way to work sneakers. For Speak to the Hand, I'm watching my show. I'm not coming to the party, but please, you go. For escaping the world, even just for a while. Go on, lose yourself, on your face, a big smile, with friends or your family, or when everyone's gone. To all of you bingers, binge on.
Are you ready to quit smoking? Ready to start tasting again? Ready to stop coughing? Are you ready to get your breath back? And start saving money? When you quit smoking, things improve quickly. When you quit, you win. Get the top 10 tips to quit successfully at icanquit.com.au or to talk to a qualified counsellor. Call Quitline on 13 78 48.
With 100% of your daily vitamin C, go for gold with a zest-free Sun Gold kiwi fruit. Make your healthy irresistible. Zest-free.
Kill bacteria that can cause sore throats fast with Betadine Sore Throat Gargle. Or treat and relieve with new Betadine Gargle and Lozenges Kit.
When the road calls, here's the very best way to answer. The BMW X3 S-Drive 20i from $69,900 drive away. Joy is coming.
Businesses are facing an overwhelming amount of information. Business Australia can help you get the answers to your toughest questions with our free business advice lines. Get the support you need at businessaustralia.com.
Tasty, affordable and delicious. What's for dinner in the next break with Coles?
Welcome back. A Navy diver was pulled from the water unconscious while training off the northern beaches. The man in his 20s was diving in shallow water at Clareville around 10 a.m. when he's believed to have had a medical episode. After being treated at the scene, he was flown to Prince of Wales Hospital in a stable condition. The Navy's elite combat clearance divers train in Pittwater. Miracle teenager Will Callaghan is finally home after his epic ordeal in the bush. He was released from hospital this afternoon after being kept in overnight. His very grateful mum says he's remarkably well.
Penny Callaghan has barely slept since Will disappeared on Monday afternoon, but last night her son finally did.
He has demonstrated what an amazing person he is.
The 14-year-old, who has autism and doesn't speak, spent 2 nights in the bush at Mount Disappointment before being found just 1.5 kilometres from where he ran off.
He didn't really go too far. He was clearly waiting to be rescued.
And even though he had an insect in his ear and a suspected broken foot, he's been well enough to eat 4 large boxes of chips and some chicken nuggets. He was found yesterday morning by volunteer Ben Gibbs, who sang to Will, gave him his socks, jacket and some chocolate.
I can't wait to meet him. He clearly did all the right stuff. What an amazing guy.
The officer in charge of the search was the one to tell Will's mum he'd been found.
Letting them know, probably one of my career highlights. Yeah, it was just so exciting to deliver that news.
Autism advocates are thrilled.
I think it's been huge, to be honest. I think it brings awareness about communication differences, and it brings a lot of that awareness around how we can communicate with people who have got communication differences.
Police are now considering some sort of formal recognition, perhaps even an award for the volunteers involved in the search for Will, including the reluctant hero who found him, Ben Gibbs. In a year low on good news, finally a reason to celebrate. Laurel Irving, 7 News.
Olympic organisers are working on a plan to simplify the already postponed Tokyo Games to cut costs and provide safety while still putting on a show. Organisers will look at reducing the number of people working on the event rather than cutting athletes or crowds. They're also open to changing the game's long-standing protest ban, which has seen athletes sent home in the past. It was a close call for a US state trooper as two large steel pipes came flying at him while stopped at an accident. Dashcam video shows the moment the pipe smashed through the cab of a truck and out the windscreen as it slammed on its brakes. The truck driver also escaped unhurt. A bogus Google review is enough to turn away customers and ruin reputations. Businesses are often powerless when it comes to what's written about them online, and for some, the only way to get them taken down is costly legal action.
It's the David and Goliath battle playing out in the federal court. Melbourne-based plastic surgeon Dr Alan Kalis versus tech giant Google.
For me, being a specialist plastic surgeon means being fully committed to the care of patients.
The complaint, Google reviews are ruining his business. With a 3-star rating among his 14 reviews, comments like, "This man is a butcher, not a surgeon," and "Stay away."
I understand there is an avenue to appeal these reviews, to have them considered, to see if they're fair and accurate. It is a process, it can take a long time.
I've had clients who've had reviews complained about and up online for years before they're taken down. I've had clients who've had reviews removed and then put back up.
Often ignored, many forced to sue Google to have the reviews taken down. A recent ruling by the Court of Appeal means that publishers like Google, Facebook, even media outlets are now deemed legally responsible for comments or reviews posted online.
Putting digital giants and other digital publishers on notice, certainly sending a message to everybody that if you have a business model that you're putting out there where you invite comment, you need to be responsible for its moderation.
Cameron Price, 7 News.
The Premier has given the go-ahead for construction to start on the Kemps Creek Business Precinct. After the break, 5,000 jobs for our West, so what's missing? The light rail cost blowout, what ministers are accused of doing now. The huge cannabis crop unearthed, just how much did police seize? And 3 decades on, mystery still shrouds a European assassination. That's next.
The footy is back. And it starts with a Thursday night blockbuster.
You can't ask for more than that.
These two teams, everyone here knows the history.
Goes to another level. It's hard to get your head around it.
Both teams absolutely desperate.
Is this his big moment?
Oh boy, here comes the pressure.
That's unbelievable!
Collingwood and Richmond headline the season return.
Magnificent.
Starting tonight. Go to the footy, live and free on 7 Mate.
Hi guys, Michael Weldon here, back with another What's for Dinner, and today I've got a very special guest with me, Kevin Sheedy, in the house. We're celebrating one thing, footy's back on TV.
That is.
How excited are you?
Oh, very excited because it's been a long wait. There's never been another year like this in the history of the game, and I think the fans are just yearning to see their teams play. Players play well, obviously, and of course there's nothing better than going to the footy and have a bit of tucker.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Steak sandwich before the footy. What do you reckon?
You're on the money right now.
There's a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, you better be good.
Awesome. So, really quick and simple steak sandwich. Super simple and also very affordable. Just going to warm up some vinegar, some water, and some sugar in a little bowl. I've got some thinly sliced onions there, Kev. It's super easy. Bring it over and we'll pour that in. Just leave it. They can sit there, relax.
Don't touch them.
Don't touch them. 10, 15 minutes, done. All right, so next we're going to do some caramelised onions. So I think every great steak sandwich, every great barbecue in Australia has caramelised onions. Got to have them. Chuck that pot on.
Over here.
Over there.
Nothing in it.
Nothing in it yet.
Put it on the hot plate.
Hot plate. Wow. Drizzle of olive oil.
A drizzle.
Perfect.
There you go. I hope my wife's watching this.
Spoon to give them a stir.
I've stirred all my life.
And then a pinch of salt, that'll help them soften up. And while we do that, we're going to cook our steak.
Seriously good, this.
Yeah? So I've got some really thin steaks here. So all I do for this, sprinkle of sea salt, and then just a little drizzle of olive oil.
We love that olive oil.
We're going to add them on. Now you can do this on a barbie, you can do it in a pan. Just make sure you're cooking it with a really nice high heat. This pan's hot, 30 seconds each side. So you just want to
30 seconds.
get a nice sear, yeah, nice sear, and then some little bit of those little bar marks where you're laughing. Super simple steak sandwich feed. And while you do that, Sheets, I've got a bit of turkey spread here. So a nice big long roll. Yeah. I've got a bit of mayo on the bottom, and then I've just got some lettuce leaves, tomatoes, mustard on top. Now chuck on our slices of cheese, double onion. This is the special bit. Four beautiful steak sandwiches. 4 quarters on a game of footy. 4 sandwiches for 4 mates for under $20. Absolute
$5 each.
Less than $5 each. We're going to enjoy this and we're going to watch the footy.
Absolutely.
This is Watch for Dinner. This is Kevin Sheedy. Thanks for watching. Happy eating.
Go footy.
Welcome back. Police say they've smashed a drugs and guns supply ring operating across Newcastle, storming several homes and arresting 3 men. Officers seized almost $30,000 in cash as well as weapons and drugs. More arrests are expected. Thousands of new jobs are being promised for Western Sydney, with plans announced today for a major new hub near the future Badgerys Creek Airport. Work on the multi-billion-dollar site is expected to start next year.
It's a sneak peek at the future Kemps Creek. This is the government's blueprint for an 850-hectare industrial hub.
We know there's a big shortfall in industrial land across Sydney.
Mamray Road Precinct is just one of 12 such areas planned for the region around the Western Sydney Airport.
Ultimately, this is about creating better jobs closer to where people live.
Building the $2.6 billion project will guarantee more than 5,000 jobs alone. After completion, a further 17,000 jobs in logistics, data centres and advanced manufacturing.
Many people will be travelling from eastern parts of Sydney and other parts of New South Wales to be working in this precinct.
The opposition has hit out at the government off the back of today's announcement. It's concerned that if a large influx of people do move here to the area, that things like schools and hospitals couldn't keep up.
If the government is serious about creating jobs, about creating opportunity in Western Sydney, then let's actually build the schools and the hospitals at the same time.
Construction of the precinct, which includes 70 hectares of conservation land, has been fast-tracked and is due to begin early next year. Peter Fegan, 7 News.
The Auditor-General has slammed the state government's handling of the new City Light Rail, accusing ministers of not reporting the true cost of the project. As we revealed on 7 News last month, the final tally came in at $3.1 billion. That's twice the original cost.
There is no transparency, and we saw that when Andrew Constance failed to reveal the cost in November.
Labor says the extra $1.5 billion could have been spent on new schools or building a hospital. Cannabis worth nearly $22 million has been uncovered by detectives during a raid on a remote property near Lismore. Police say a Vietnamese crime gang is behind the haul as demand for the drug grows.
Fields of green, 7,200 plants, 50 kilograms of cannabis, $22 million worth, the largest, most sophisticated indoor marijuana setup that New South Wales Police has ever seized.
It was set up industrially, so they had vacuum packing, they had drying plant areas.
Nabbed at the property just south of Lismore, 4 Vietnamese nationals, charged with a range of offences that, if convicted, could see them each jailed for up to 15 years. But given the size and scale of the operation, detectives say there will be more arrests.
They had a nursery set up for seedlings. They had smaller juvenile plants right up to the mature plants, and they had in fact started harvesting.
Detectives acted on intelligence that Vietnamese crime gangs were working to re-establish themselves in the illegal cannabis market on the back of growing demand for the drug on the streets. Putting a microscope on their activities led to the discovery of this crop. They've asked anyone who spots any suspicious activity in rural areas to contact police. Laura Banks, 7 News.
Disgraced former magistrate Graham Curran, jailed for indecently assaulting an underage boy in the 1980s, is appealing his conviction. The 69-year-old was jailed last August for a minimum 16 months over the assaults which happened when his victim was aged between 13 and 15. Curran claims the verdicts were unreasonable and he suffered a miscarriage of justice. It's one of Europe's most prominent political killings, compared by some to the assassination of JFK. Now, after 3 decades, the investigation into the murder of Swedish Prime Minister Olof Palme has been closed, but with the prime suspect now dead, plenty of questions remain.
In Sweden, the question of who killed Olof Palme has been a national obsession. 34 years on, it's case closed.
I feel confident about the findings that we have made.
Palme was gunned down in February 1986 after leaving a Stockholm cinema with his wife.
Mrs Thatcher said Mr Palmer's loss will be felt throughout the world.
It's a disaster for Sweden. A total disaster.
A petty criminal was convicted of murder but acquitted. Prosecutors now believe the perpetrator was Stig Engström, a graphic designer who worked close to the crime scene. He died in 2000. Palme was a prominent left-wing figure, outspoken on international issues. He fought for victims of injustice and against apartheid.
You cannot reach security by increasing the arms race.
The case was a magnet for conspiracy theories and Sweden's biggest criminal investigation. 10,000 people were interviewed. 134 falsely confessed to the crime. The case file at police headquarters takes up 250 metres of shelf space. An outcome is satisfying, says the former leader's son. It's a shame they don't have more evidence. No weapon, motive or justice. Sarah Greenolch, 7 News.
With pubs and clubs opening up again, there's been a rise in the use of poker machines. After the break, concerns that unlocked superannuation could be fueling gambling. The dramatic moment, a 7-month-old is saved, the simple act that averted tragedy. Hope turns 1, how this youngster celebrated.
Suit in sport, the Dragons captain fires up over claims Jack de Bellin's presence has divided the club.
Low 20s and sunshine this afternoon. Coastal showers tomorrow. Weekend weather soon.
A foodie journey of discovery across Australia's hinterlands.
Delicious local flavours, no matter where you travel.
The gooeyest dessert treat. The pot roast to warm you right up, and the mountain garden bringing the seasons together.
A surprise around every corner.
On New Better Homes, Friday on 7.
Right now, businesses are facing their toughest challenges. Get advice and inspiration from other local businesses on cash flow, marketing and managing staff. Get the support you need at businessaustralia.com.
Customers in New South Wales told us on average they saved $209 by switching their comprehensive car insurance, and on average they saved $301 by switching their combined home and contents insurance online to Budget Direct. So who should you switch to? Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
Hey, hon. Yeah? Oh, how funny. I'm in that aisle now.
Get your Woolies worth with great specials like Nestle Block 118 to 200 grams, now $2.25 each. That's half price.
That's why I pick Woolies.
Right now, knowing where you stand financially is more important than ever.
But with so many different benefits, rebates and concessions, it can be confusing.
That's why there's Benefits Finder in your CommBank app. In seconds, we can help you find the benefits you may be eligible for.
It's just one of the ways we're doing more things for more people together.
Make your home beautiful with furniture from Harvey Norman. We have a huge range of quality choices and exclusive designs. Fabric and leather lounges, flexible family-friendly modulars, manual or powered recliners, sofas with the latest smart tech built in, dining suites to complement a classic or bold contemporary look, plus the very best of Australian-made lounge and dining furniture, customizable to suit your style. Shop smart, shop safe in our spacious stores and take advantage of 60 months interest-free. Available now at Harvey Norman, your furniture specialist.
Tough times don't excuse tougher times at home. Even in crisis, there's no place for abuse or domestic violence. If you're worried about your actions or relationship, help is available online and by phone 24/7. For free confidential advice and counselling, contact Men's Line there's no place for abuse or domestic violence. Help is here. Authorised by the Australian Government, Canberra.
After this week's gains, the ASX 200 had its worst session in more than a month, closing down 187 points. It was sparked by a sell-off on Wall Street following comments from the US Federal Reserve Chairman warning America faces a long road to recovery. Our dollar is buying 69.21 US cents. Fuel prices are continuing to rise across Sydney. The average is $1.25.3 a litre, but we found regular unleaded for just 96.7 cents in Campbelltown and 97.9 in North Ryde. A well-known strip of shops at North Bondi has sold for a staggering $25.4 million at auction, more than $7 million above the price guide. The building on Campbell Parade includes 6 apartments upstairs, as well as Neo and Tony's Grocery and the Depot Cafe. Social distancing in pubs and clubs may have limited the number of poker machines available, but it hasn't stopped the punters spending up big since restrictions were eased. New data shows New South Wales clubs took slightly more last week than during an average week last June. Online betting has also risen during the pandemic. Gambling reform groups warn people may be using superannuation savings taken out in the government's early release program to fund their habit. Tony Abbott and his sister Christine Foster have put aside their political differences for the launch of her new book. The former PM and Sydney City Councillor were on opposite sides of the same-sex marriage debate. Despite their past disagreements, the siblings say they remain great mates. We have remarkable vision now of a 7-month-old baby being saved from a deadly choking attack by a very capable bystander. The man ran to a mother's aid after her little boy began turning blue. It's a dramatic reminder of the value to all parents of basic first aid.
A parent's sheer panic caught on camera as 7-month-old Tyler Stiles battles to breathe and starts turning blue.
With the emotion of your own child, when you're in the midst of it, you can't think of anything. You just run.
Mum Sharon had 3 first aid courses under her belt, but in fear, she froze, a stranger quickly becoming their saviour.
Does anyone know first aid?
When a child's choking, time is you've got to react very quickly.
Brett Weinbreck had recently completed emergency training. Security video shows him pick Tyler up, flip him onto his stomach and deliver 3 sharp blows to the back, clearing the phlegm from his airways.
Turning upside down is a good one, and if you give a bit of a blow, it usually helps.
It's exactly the skill Tiny Hearts educator Ashley Wyatt teaches parents-to-be.
We're going to get that hard part of our hand and we're going to do 5 back blows between the shoulder blades, checking the airway between each one.
Switching to 5 chest thrusts and eventually CPR if that fails.
And that's where it's really important that we know how to do compressions.
It's recommended you update your first aid skills every 3 years, your CPR training once a year, and you should consider a refresher course if you're about to have a baby, with some classes now available online.
The more often you do it, the more likely you are to be able to call on it.
Giving parents those skill sets, that really could be the matter of life and death.
Amber Laidler, 7 News.
First birthdays are always special, and this one was no different. Hope the Wombat celebrated the milestone at the Australian Reptile Park with her favourite snacks, corn, sweet potato and fresh grass. That was followed by a nap. Hope was named by the public after being found in her mum's pouch. She'd been hit and killed by a car. The little wombat has become firm friends with a baby koala at the zoo, who also had a difficult start to life. The last few months have been stressful enough, and that's before tax time rolls in. Coming up, tips to get the most from your return and how JobKeeper payments could have an effect. Don't miss that story soon on 7 News. But now Mel is here with Sport, and Mel, some lucky fans will be the first to get a taste of footy up close tonight.
Fergo, Gosford is the place to be as the Sea Eagles prepare to take on the Broncos. We'll cross there live next. Plus, the dramas continue at the Dragons, and the list of players who reportedly want out is growing. And out of the casualty ward and cleared to play, a timely boost for one of the Giants' favourite sons.
Good morning, sir. I'm a private detective.
You're a what?
The streets of London are not what they once were.
Being a detective is a job for a man.
And yet you do it every day, William.
3 unmissable weeks of genuinely sizzling drama.
I've had no choice but to take the law into my own hands. I know what I'm doing.
The new 7-2 event, Miss Scarlet and the Duke, tonight.
At Apia, we're all about possibilities and making sure you're ready for them. And while not everything is possible at the moment, there are some things you can do. With Apia's comprehensive insurance, you can double up and save. Simply buy new eligible home and car insurance together before July 10 and save 20% off the second policy. Our dedicated specialists are ready to help. Call 13 50 50 or visit apia.com.au.
But to do, all this here's got to be painted again. Gee. I lowered all my door frames by 2 feet, just as an epic reminder that Aldi are having their special buys.
You can't miss that.
Hey, precisely.
Turn your doorway into an epic reminder for this Saturday and get a clothes dryer for $249, a stainless steel dishwasher for $299 and a bar fridge for $99.99. Only at Aldi. Good. Different.
Find a fantastic new look for your home at the Fantastic Sale. Don't miss great prices on sofas, dining sets, kids' furniture and heaps more. These low prices won't last, so hurry. Shop online or in-store today. The Fantastic Sale is on now.
The streets are calling. Make sure you're ready to answer. The BMW 118i from 49,900 drive away. Joy is coming.
For the sake of those around you, eat a bit more Aussie fruit, veg and nuts. It's the good mood food.
We are Regional Australia.
We are winemakers.
We are coffee roasters.
Fashion designers.
Potters.
Bakers.
Shopkeepers.
We're asking for your support because the wine is pouring.
The kiln is firing. And we're open for business.
Because where you shop matters.
Discover how Visa's network connects regional businesses to customers across Australia and the world.
Did someone say KFC?
The Sports Report brought to you by KFC. Get your KFC contact-free today.
Welcome back. Well, for the first time since round 1, crowds have been allowed back inside stadiums, beginning with tonight's clash between Manly and the Broncos. We go live now to Chief League reporter Michelle Bishop. Shell, the corporate and catering areas will be used tonight.
Mel, how good is this? How great is it to see real-life footy fans back at the footy? We haven't seen them for 3 months. Of course, Manly and the Brisbane Broncos have arrived in very separate areas under tight security. They've been kept away from the public tonight, but 180 lucky, extremely lucky fans here tonight. 80 corporates over one side and the rest are Manly diehards. Manly fans that have had membership for 10 years plus. Social distancing must apply. Similar rules to what they're using in clubs and pubs at the moment. Now, I caught up with a few very excited Manly fans a little earlier. Let's take a listen.
It's amazing. It's a privilege, actually, to be invited to something like this.
Yeah, I haven't been to the footy in ages. I'm super keen, eh?
Oh, it means everything.
We've missed the boys.
So much.
Yeah. It's too hard watching it on TV.
It's so exciting, I think, to going through the pandemic and being stuck inside and then being able to come out and celebrate.
Well, they're certainly in for an exciting night. Now, I need to give you an update on the Benji Marshall situation. Of course, this morning I had my test results back from COVID-19 and they came back negative, which means Benji Marshall is allowed to return to training. Now, the NRL is considering sanctioning Benji, but it's unlikely the West Tigers will be fined. Mel.
Shell, great news and great to see that you are both healthy. All right, enjoy tonight. It is exciting times. Michelle Bishop there in Gosford. Well, the rumblings continue at the Dragons, despite the board's backing of embattled head coach Paul McGregor. It's understood Tristan Saylor, the son of dual international Wendell, is the latest rising star who wants out of the club.
Right now, the Red V is all about crisis management. A disgruntled Tristan Saylor joining Matt Duffy and Jason Saab in wanting out of the club. But Captain Cameron McGuinness dismissed claims accused rapist Jack DeBellin has divided the playing group.
To be honest, pretty disgusting, and it sort of just shows the lengths people will go to sort of almost kick a dog when they're down. So, I'm pretty disgusted by it, to be honest with you.
DeBellin is due back in court later this month. St George Illawarra faced the Sharks on Sunday night at Campbelltown. Former Dragon Josh Dugan today threw his support behind embattled coach Paul McGregor.
It's the 17 guys on the field, that are performing or not performing that leads to results. Mary's probably one of the better coaches that I've had.
Eels coach Brad Arthur couldn't be happier, although he's keeping a lid on expectations ahead of the Battle of the West against the Panthers tomorrow night.
We're still 16 rounds to go, so there's a long way to go. Things can change in a week in our game, so we haven't addressed it.
The showdown between the informed Mitchell Moses and the returning Nathan Cleary will be one of the highlights.
He's okay. Yeah, I think he just wants to get out there and play footy, let his footy do the talking, and everyone can get on with life.
While Ricky Stewart needed reminding this week of becoming the 8th coach to reach 400 premiership games.
Craig Bellamy called me 2 days ago and actually told me. I wasn't aware of it.
Jim Wilson, 7 News.
Well, a huge boost for the Giants with former co-captain Callan Ward locked in for Sunday's game against North Melbourne. The hugely popular 30-year-old only played 3 minutes last season before suffering a serious knee injury.
My family and friends are always there for me through the ups and downs, and especially the downs. So, yeah, if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I'd be now.
The Swans host Essendon on Sunday at the SCG. Callum Sinclair comes in for injured ruckman Sam Naismith.
He's had a great pre-season and can obviously go forward as well and take some big pack marks and kick some goals.
The season restarts tonight with Richmond against Collingwood. Well, the sister of Aussie NBA star Ben Simmons has launched an attack on Basketball Australia, accusing the governing body of racism.
You guys have always been racist. That's no surprise. You guys have never really wanted to see people succeed. I mean, we saw it firsthand with my brother, it's why he left the country. Basketball Australia constantly wants to promote black players like Liz Cambridge and Ben Simmons. You want to profit off our black athletes, but you don't want to stand with us.
Olivia Simmons wants Basketball Australia to publicly support the Black Lives Matter movement. And Shane Van Gisbergen is the inaugural Supercars E-Series champion. When Scott McLaughlin bombed out on a virtual version of Mount Panorama in last night's final round, it handed Van Gisbergen the title. The focus now switches back to the real Supercars Championship, which restarts on June 27 at Sydney Motorsport Park at Eastern Creek. Fergo, lots of fans excited about that, but for tonight, the AFL is back and all the coverage. Collingwood v Richmond is on 7 Mate after the news. All the build-up begins then.
Some real life footy.
Yeah, can't wait.
Good on you, Mel. Thank you. The pandemic is about to hit another important point on the calendar, tax time. Many of those whose lives have been disrupted are wondering what effects JobKeeper and working from home might have. The good news is it could mean a cash bonus.
Fitness consultant Ben Donhart has had enough to stress about in recent months.
We had a complete stop of income. So for the last, since I think it's 16th of March, 7th of March, everything stopped.
Now Ben, like millions of Australians, must explain his unusual circumstances to the tax office. Payments due to job disruption, like income protection or insurance, are taxable and must be declared. But
any amount that is withdrawn as part of the early release arrangement for superannuation is a tax-free amount.
JobKeeper at $1,500 a fortnight is taxable. If someone previously earned less than that, they might be pushed over the tax-free threshold.
And they'll have to pay that additional tax on that amount.
But if you earn less than expected this year, you might have paid too much tax already and be owed a bigger refund. And don't forget,
if you need anything to do your job from home in this environment that we've got at the moment, in most cases they are deductible.
That includes all running costs, such as heating, lighting, power, your phone and internet, and depreciation on your home office. You can itemise every expense, or just claim 80 cents for each hour worked from home from March 1 to June 30. Check the Tax Office website for a Tax Time Essentials list that discusses the major changes impacting our lives this year and how they affect your tax return. Gemma Acton, 7 News.
David is back now. Brownie, very nice in the sun today.
Oh yeah, Fergo, the harbour city definitely turned it on. Coastal showers tomorrow though. Weekend details after the break.
Go on. You know you want it.
Come home to Home and Away. Weeknights on 7.
Hi mate, what have you been up to?
Not much. I miss you guys, and I miss you cooking.
I don't miss a thing. I got the new Woolies Rewards app.
Get everything in one place. Track your points and personalised offers to save even more.
That's why I pick Woolies.
Over 16,500 New South Wales police are out there. And police vehicles can enforce the road rules anywhere, anytime. So if you drink and drive, speed, don't wear a seatbelt, take illegal drugs and drive, or hold your phone while driving, you can stop it or cop it.
It's end of financial year time, which means qualifying businesses can take advantage of the instant asset write-off tax deductions on eligible purchases of up to $150,000 now, and it's our huge end of financial year sale.
At Lee.
Conditions apply.
Driver, take away my worries of today and leave tomorrow behind. Oh, dream weaver, I believe you can get me through the night. Dream weaver. I've got sunshine on a cloudy day. I guess you say what can make me feel this way.
The first ever GLB, room for 7, and much more.
Right now, most Australians are using their home internet in more ways than ever, and in more places than ever. Wi-Fi signals get weaker the further you are from your modem. So if you find yourself needing internet in the far corners of your home, you might benefit from a Wi-Fi extender to boost your signal and improve your experience. For more home internet help, visit nbn.com.au/optimise.
We know you've always worked hard for your money. In these uncertain economic times, who do you trust to protect your wealth? Invest with La Trobe Financial, Australia's multi-award winning wealth manager and leading credit specialist. Trusted by Australians for more than 60 years.
These two teams, everyone here knows the history. Collingwood and Richmond, next on 7 Mate.
This weather report brought to you by La Trobe Financial. Make your money work harder.
Time of day to lose weight. First thing, lunchtime walk or just before bed. New research revealing when is best and how much is too much. And right in our heartland, Sydney's controversial icon, listed as heritage. Why opinions are divided. 7 News at 6 o'clock.
Tonight's top story, the Supreme Court is currently hearing a police challenge to planned protests. Organisers say they'll march anyway. Now with Sydney's weather, here's David.
Thanks very much, Fergo. Lots of mild winter sunshine today and little, if any, wind. We are expecting some coastal showers tomorrow. Now, today's top, though, tapped out on the high side of normal by almost 5 degrees. The maximum 21.5. Now, low 20s were the order of the afternoon across most of the metro area under this well, moderate southerly breeze. As we go to the satellite, skies clear across most of our state this evening. The active trough, which has, well, brought some showers earlier today, is now clearing further out to sea. Fogs are expected to return to the ranges and the adjoining slopes tomorrow. But the tail end of this, well, meandering trough is expected to trigger just a few brief showers about the Central Coast. Upstream, though, we've got an active cold front and that's sweeping across the Great Australian Bight. That system will eventually bring some showers and storms to most of our state across the weekend. Some snow is also likely to fall across the Alpine region. Interstate tomorrow, just a shower or two is expected in Brisbane and a forecast top around 25 degrees. Melbourne, cold and clear, 15. Adelaide, clear skies around 19 degrees. More stormy weather expected in Perth tomorrow at only 18 degrees. For us, we'll see morning fog patches through the eastern corridor, also near the border area as well. Just some scattered showers, as I mentioned earlier, just clipping parts of the Central Coast. It will be a fine day elsewhere. We are expecting some fog in the outer west first thing tomorrow. The thing that stands out, though, you'll notice our model is painting just some isolated light shower activity, clipping the coastal fringe for a good part of the day. Most falls less than a couple of millimetres, and you'll also notice from the forecast maximum a cooler day than today. Smooth seas to continue over our coastal waters. Winds, well, getting up to around 10 knots at best. For the city, one or two showers from time to time, plenty of lengthy clear breaks in between, a top of around 19 degrees. As for the next 7 days, well, there's the latest outlook on your screen. Another foggy start is expected in our west on Saturday. During Saturday night, cloud increasing, some showers and storms sweeping through during Sunday morning, then a return to fine conditions during Sunday afternoon. So a bit of a mixed bag tomorrow, Fergo.
Righto, David, thanking you. That is 7 News for this Thursday. We'll have updates for you throughout the evening. I'm Mark Ferguson from all the team. I hope you have a great night.
I got a message for your dad.
Okay.
Tell him to stay the hell away from my mum.
What's she doing here?
She did stay the night, but nothing happened. It's no big deal.
Are you for real? Of course it's a big deal. Either way, I have to tell Mum.
You reckon